time for us to make peace and stop the fighting. One love, one unity, got to break the bondage. No more borders around me, no more mental slavery. Bob Marley said it best, stand together and feel alright. But if we fight,
let it be for justice.
and if we war,
Let it be for justice.
at all costs,
Let it be for justice.
do what is right.
Let it be for justice.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Inequity, disparities, and violence, oppression, racism. No, I won't be silent. No, no more barriers for we. We will thrive, prosperity. Marcus Garvey said it best. None but ourselves can free your minds. But if we fight,
Let it be for justice.
and if we war,
Let it be for justice.
at all costs,
Let it be for justice.
do what is right.
Let it be for justice.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. 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 No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. We the people are from royalty. Royalty. I wish so many of us can see. Keep the culture, be united, stop the violence. Put the power in ourselves, create the franchise. In the news last week, another bomb overseas. I'm so sick of these murders in the streets. Ooh, boy, ooh, boy, boy, boy. But if we fight,
Let it be for justice.
and if we war,
Let it be for justice.
at all costs,
Let it be for justice.
do what is right.
Let it be for justice.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. 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 No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice.
Let it be,
Greetings and salutations to one and all.
let it be for justice.
Welcome to the night shift with DJ Kevin Stewart's Community and Finance Night.
Violence, oppression,
Tonight we're kicking things off with the sound of China Nicole.
no more barriers.
A track called Let It Be for Justice.
Thrive, prosperity.
I told you.
Harvey said it best, none but ourselves can free your minds. But if we fight,
Whenever I'm addressing these issues,
Be for justice.
this is my theme song.
Let it be for justice.
at all costs,
Let it
So let it be for justice
right.
that we address some of these issues that we're addressing right now.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs.
I want to say big ups to each and everyone who's locked in right now. Those on TuneIn Radio on the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew.
Let it be for
Much love to you.
let it be for justice. No matter
Those hailing from across the pond, top of the morning to you. Over there in the UK, One Harmony Radio.
we the people.
Much love to you. Big up King Genius.
Royalty. I wish so many of us can see. Keep the culture
Big
beat.
ups to those who are locked in out of New Jersey
Create the free
on NIE Radio.
news last week on
Locked in with the Motivator, New Jersey's finest.
Birds in the street.
How you doing, bro?
Ooh,
What were you cooking up today? If y'all know the Motivator, you know he was cooking today. He was on the grill.
Let it be for justice.
Once big ups to those who are locked in out of New York.
Be for justice.
Island worldwide, exhibiting the power of music.
Let it be for
Home of this lady right here, China Nicole. Blessings to you, China.
Let it be for
Much love, Gary.
disparities and violence, oppression, racism. No,
I want to say big ups to those who are locked in
no
on Reggae Pulse Radio. Big up to the Atomic Force crew.
prosperity.
Much love to you, Buck.
We stated there's none but ourselves can free your mind.
Big ups to those hailing out of Texas. WGLRO, home of the Donnie Walker Morning Show, the People Station. Taking from the sheets to the streets, touching from Detroit to Denmark and all points in between. Much love to you, Donnie. Big ups to those on Oliwap Radio and Dusic Media Groups. Much love out of South Florida.
Let it be for justice,
The Foundation Radio Network, ClintonLindsay.com.
no matter what it costs. Let it be for justice.
Mr. Dancing Feet himself, Clinton Lindsay.
Justice, let it be for
Big ups to you, sir, the veteran in the business.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. We the people are from royalty. Royalty are with so many of us.
Much love to those who are locked in on PEMGTV.com.
To be united, stop the violence. Put the power in ourselves, create the franchise. In the news last week, another bomb overseas. I'm so sick of these murders in the streets. Ooh, why?
Everybody out there is celebrating all these with all these fireworks. Y'all, can you all hear it?
But if we fight
I'm not sure if y'all can hear it in my mic.
For justice.
and if we war,
Be for justice.
at all costs,
Be for justice.
do what is right.
Be for justice.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice.
I want to say thank you to my segment sponsors,
No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let
Pulse Media Group, and being in the moment is priceless. Give them a call. What can they do for you? Everything you see here on KevinStew.com and more. They handle your videos, photos, streaming, your advertising.
silent. No more barriers for we.
They can provide you streaming services,
See
live and in living color. So you have an event that you want to stream live,
ourselves can
you can talk with them.
our minds. But if we
A wedding, a church service, a party, a graduation, a seminar.
For justice.
They got you on a secure platform, whether yours or theirs. And give them a call, 754-999-1140. That's 754-999-1140.
what is right.
Be for justice.
I want to say thank you to Althea and her Healing Heavenly Hands. Althea is a licensed massage therapist operating out of Broad County, North Miami-Dade, and South Palm Beach counties. She comes to you, bringing her table, her oils, and over 20 years massage therapy experience.
Let it be for
She's also a personal trainer, so she knows what you can do to be a healthier you.
we the people are from royalty
Give her a call today, 954-655-9000.
of us.
That's 954-655-9000.
Keep the culture, be united, stop the
Or
violence.
email her at thealater@att.net, THEALATER
Another bomb.
at att.net.
These murders in the streets.
She only has one request outside of paying her.
Why
That is to get off her table and go sleep somewhere else when she's done. It's called the Kevin Stew Clause. That's where I always fall asleep. I want to say thank you to Reggae Global Entertainment. Reggae Global will act as your booking agents, handle your tour management, take care of your business registration, legal service referrals, music production, marketing and promotion, and so much more.
Oppression, racism.
Give them a call, 954-804-8199,
No more.
or check them out at reggaeglobal.com.
We will thrive, prosper.
Tell them Kevin Stew sent you.
Marcus Garvey stated there's none but ourselves can free.
Thank you to McNeil Trucking.
But if
With McNeil Trucking, your goods are in good hands. They're licensed and insured movers in the state of Florida.
we want,
You want to move from point A to point B? You want to put some things in storage, don't have the manpower, the equipment, the transportation?
it's right.
No worries. Call up McNeil Trucking, 954-406-9740.
Let it be for justice.
That's 954-406-9740.
No matter what it costs.
tell him you heard about him on the night shift with DJ Kevin Steele.
Let it be for justice.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be.
And like I always said, when you hear this song
The people,
by China Nicole, it's called Let It Be for Justice.
royalty.
Chances are I'm addressing something that has to do with justice in some way, shape, or form. And tonight is no different.
Power in ourselves create the franchise. In the news,
With me tonight, I have no stranger. Y'all know him.
murders in the street.
So I hope y'all got your coffee ready. It's gonna be a long night. No, it's not. We're gonna cut him off at 11 o'clock. Watch. Ladies and gentlemen.
Plans of mice and men.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, you know the voice. It is David Fisher. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Kevin. I see you have great plans for this evening.
You know, we can be hopeful. We can be hopeful.
Well, I do have a bit of a bombshell for your listeners.
Ooh, we like bombshells. Drop it.
Okay. Well, as you know, the big issue for the last 2 weeks has been Roe v. Wade.
Yes.
And Texas is its current leadership is very, very anti-abortion.
Yes.
Problem is, last December, the Court of Criminal Appeals threw a hand grenade in the middle of the state's ability to prosecute abortions.
How so?
We have two Supreme Courts. They have equal standing, one civil, one criminal.
Mm-hmm.
In the criminal Supreme Court, last December, they issued a ruling called State of Texas versus Zena Stevens. Now, Zena Stevens is the sheriff of Jefferson County. She's an African-American woman. She was charged with election violations.
Okay.
And the district attorney's office, which is was a Democratic district attorney, wouldn't prosecute the charge. So our illustrious Attorney General, who has had all of his felony charges against him since before he ran for Attorney General, it's still chasing him, decided.
Fish? Hello? Hello?
District Attorney Prosecutor Pro Tem
Wait.
in Jefferson County.
Okay, you just cut out on me for a quick second.
Okay, I'm
there.
sorry.
So you're saying the DA that has his charges chasing him did what now?
The district attorney, the criminal district attorney of Jefferson County refused to prosecute the sheriff over these election code violations. So the Texas Attorney General decided he would. So he appointed one of his deputy attorney generals to act as a criminal prosecutor pro tem in Jefferson County.
Okay.
And took the case to a grand jury, had her indicted, and prosecuted her. The attorneys representing the sheriff, Ms. Stevens, appealed all the way to the Court of Criminal Appeals. On December 15, 2021, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals ruled that the Attorney General in Texas does not have criminal prosecution authority, that the legislature took all the criminal prosecution authority away from the Attorney General back in 1876 at the end of Reconstruction after the Civil War.
Not 1976.
No, 1876.
1876.
Yes. The big
Okay.
1-8. Yes.
Okay.
And so what they did, and this was because during Reconstruction, Texas had a corrupt attorney general who was using his criminal powers to prosecute people, his enemies.
Right.
So the legislature said that ain't never happening again. So what they did is they took the criminal district attorney and the criminal county attorneys of every county in Texas and put them in the judicial branch of government and put the attorney general in the executive branch of government. Now, Texas has an extremely strict separation of powers constitution, even more so than the U.S. Constitution. And so under this separation of powers, the executive branch that Paxton's in cannot step into a county and prosecute a case as a criminal district attorney pro tem. And there lies the bomb. Now, the media in Texas has been trying to hide this and trying to limit this ruling to make it appear it only concerns election law.
Right. What's going on here?
Kevin.
Okay.
Okay, that just went away.
Yeah, you're back.
So, but that's not what this ruling says. This ruling says the Attorney General cannot act as a criminal district or county attorney pro tem and prosecute individuals in this state, period. They can come in as an assistant district attorney or county attorney under the direction of the elected district attorney. If the district attorney needs some expertise from the AG, from the Attorney General's office,
right,
then they can request a deputy attorney general be appointed as a deputy district attorney under the authority of the district attorney or the criminal county attorney. So they can't, that is acting under the authority of the judicial officer.
Okay.
Not as the judicial officer. So how does that affect abortions? Well, after Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court, then the Texas abortion law passed in 1925.
Yes.
That Texas was under when Roe v. Wade was, blocked the states from preventing abortions. That law went back into effect. And it is a criminal offense, to aid or to have an abortion. A prosecutorial, criminal offense. But here's the problem. There is no law in Texas that requires a district attorney to prosecute any criminal law. That is totally within their discretion.
What?
And once abortion clinics understand that, then they will be reopening their offices in counties like Harris County, Dallas County, Jefferson County, El Paso County, where the district attorneys are, pro-choice and under Democratic control. And there's nothing the state can do about it.
Wait. Hold up. So you're saying there's no law in Texas that says a district attorney has to prosecute
A criminal case, that's correct.
Purely discretional. Purely.
Purely discretional.
Okay. And all the district attorneys are I guess the majority of them in Texas are pro-choice.
Well, no, they're pro-life. The majority are Republican pro-life, where they would prosecute you.
Okay.
But the larger counties, the majority of the larger counties,
got you.
And are Democrat. The Democrats control the district attorney's offices, and those Democrats are generally pro-choice.
Okay.
So if an abortion clinic opened up in their county, in essence, it could have their blessing, and there would be no prosecutions.
But wouldn't those district attorneys get pressured by the state and other DAs from the other
Well,
counties?
well, like in Washington, government is divided in Texas too. The Republican leadership doesn't see eye to eye just about on anything with the Democratic side of government.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, now I'm not saying that there won't be a lot of screaming, waving of hands, and gnashing of teeth, because there will.
Right.
And since our legislature, we have a legislature that's in session every other year. Well, this is an off year. So the legislature won't come back into session until January next year. So what you'll have is the right to life Republican senators and House members will be screaming and writing every type of bill under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
to bring before the full legislature next year. And there's no doubt they'll attempt to amend the Constitution and give the Attorney General's office, powers of prosecution like the Inquisition, of the 1600s in Europe.
Okay.
Under the Catholic Church, that you could be declared to be satanic and be burned at the stake, kind of stuff. And let me tell you, I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see bills that had that kind of language. But unless Abbott calls a special session of the legislature, it'll have to be next year. And of course, we have a big midterm coming up in November, which this will absolutely polarize the state.
Yeah.
Like no other state.
Y'all really do things bigger in Texas.
Well, unfortunately, messes and crime, are our best big things that we do. We're the big state that has a constitution and legal statutes that are only advisory for our powers to be. They're not mandatory on our elected officials and judges.
Apparently not.
No, it's more like do what they say and not as they do approach to law and our Constitution. Only this one, this was a very surprising ruling. And of course, it's got the Attorney General, the Lieutenant Governor, and the Governor demanding that the Court of Criminal Appeals go back and reverse their ruling. But it's a full Republican Court of Criminal Appeals, Supreme Court. And it was a 9-1 ruling. You're not going to get it reversed.
Right.
And so...
But, so this has so many far-reaching implications, and it spreads out like a real big spider web.
Yeah, it does.
We didn't see this coming at all. When I say we, I mean, you and I have had several conversations, and somehow this part of it didn't come up.
No, because as you know, I do research on the weekends.
Oh,
and
so your weekend runs 7 days a week?
Yes, and that's where I saw this. As I reviewed the news, and court rulings and stuff around the state for the last week.
Yes.
Now, you and I have been talking about the issue of the Attorney General's office stepping in to prosecute homicide cases.
Yes.
As criminal district attorneys pro tem that are illegal. And I've been reaching out and alerting defense attorneys to this ruling and explaining and having them, they've already started now filing motions with the judges to disqualify the Attorney General's office from acting as criminal district attorney pro tem. So I'm moving this ruling that the big online media tried to limit the repercussions to only election law violations at the Attorney General's office was banned from prosecuting to, oh no, it's all criminal cases.
Right.
And so I've already gotten motions in 2 homicide cases, 2 different attorneys to file motions that'll be heard within the next 2 weeks to disqualify the Attorney General's office as the prosecutor.
But
because of this ruling. But when I was looking, I came across a case from earlier this year. It was a transgender case. Now, the Attorney General's office and the governor has gone after doctors treating transgender youth with hormone-blocking drugs.
Yes.
Right. And there's a case in Dallas where the newspaper reported that the judge, that Paxton's Attorney General's office tried to come in as, as a co-prosecutor in that case, alleging that the treating this, this transgender kid with these drugs is tantamount to child abuse. Yeah, it's not something you should have said, because child abuse is a criminal offense. And you just got your butt bounced out, and that's what the judge did. He blocked the Attorney General, blocked the Attorney General's office from interceding in that case.
So you're saying to me then that judges actually know, judges in Texas actually know that the Attorney General office cannot act pro tem to prosecute cases. That's what caught me by surprise. When I read this, I'm going, wait a minute. This is a step not yet over the line where the judge blocked the Attorney General's office from intervening. Yes.
As a co-prosecutor.
Mm-hmm.
And the newspaper didn't catch this. They just ruled that the judge blocked the Attorney General's office from basically meddling. But you see, I read it differently because of that little comment about Paxton's office in their briefs interceding.
Yes.
That this doctor treating this child with these hormone blocking drugs or hormones is child abuse, which is a criminal offense, and that's the red flag. That's what I see immediately. Okay. So this judge didn't get out there and say, hey, based on the rule, our strict separation of powers Constitution and the Zena Stevens rulings,
mm-hmm.
you can't, come in and act as a prosecutor pro tem. But the judge didn't touch that. Did it very subtly, and nobody caught it until I saw it. And then when I saw it, then immediately I started extrapolating and going, oh, wait a minute. This has broader implications. Because it wasn't until Roe v. Wade was overturned and then the powers to be reached back this week and said, oh, the laws that Texas passed and our Supreme Court upheld, the last abortion law we were under before Roe v. Wade,
yes,
was the 1925 Supreme Court ruling that makes aiding in an abortion or getting an abortion a criminal offense. And then you start pulling the pieces together. because as a criminal offense, just like the election law is a criminal offense, but the district attorney in Jefferson County doesn't have to prosecute it. That's discretionary. And no power in the state can make a district attorney prosecute a discretionary case, an act. They have the sole authority on that.
Okay. Isn't the district attorney's office or the district attorney isn't that an elected position?
It is an elected position, yes. And it's a position that a voter in that county can file under our government code what is called a writ of petition. They can allege that the district attorney is incompetent, corrupt, has been caught in public drinking alcohol or intoxicated. There's a whole list of things. And they can bring a charge directly to a district court judge that will have to be tried by a jury of 6. If they find that the district attorney did what is alleged and vote true to the allegation, then the district court judge removes the district attorney from office and appoints the successor to fill out the remaining term. So there are some pitfalls, but in a democratically controlled county and on an issue like pro-life, well, that pretty well splits the voting population pretty much down the center.
And I asked that question because which I don't know how much truth there is to it. We the people are supposed to be the ones with the power, but somehow we miss that.
Well, this is in Texas, as we've discussed in the past.
Yes.
And as an article just came out here the last 2 weeks, and where it quoted me as pointing out that Texas has an imperial judiciary that doesn't follow the laws of the statute or the Constitution. They do what the hell they want. And virtually no defense attorney will ever challenge them. Almost 2 to 1. And this is what the reporter in the newspaper found, is when they went to the law schools, to the law professors, to ask them about the laws and the Constitution, none of them would return their calls. The local defense bar, wouldn't return their calls. Nobody would dare put their name.
Nobody wants to go up against the Dons, huh?
Huh? Yes, the male penguins.
Right.
Yes. In other words, the robes. So here this is the pickle. Now, I'm not saying not all, because there are some that I'm maneuvering right now. Helping them put together cases to challenge some of these judges. And in this really high-profile murder, where a police officer is actually in Texas charged with murder for shooting an African-American woman, through her bedroom window. That's the Aaron Dean. Aaron Dean.
Yeah.
And in that case, the elected judge, was recused from presiding over that case a little over a week ago. But that has caused a giant mess with all of these issues that we talked about the last time, about these retired judges not taking the oaths.
Yes.
Because the presiding judge of the region that Fort Worth is in got caught for the last 7 years assigning an incompetent judge to some 200 felony cases where this judge has never been given authority to, since he retired, to sit on a court. And the presiding judge has been giving him a title when he assigns him that he doesn't have, that the Supreme Court didn't give him. And thus, all of these assignments are illegal, and all of the people prosecuted under this judge for 7 years, all of their convictions were illegal and they're void. And they're going to have to be overturned. And see, this presiding judge is the one who appointed a visiting judge to recuse the elected judge in the Aaron Dean case.
Hold on, don't even wait 1 second before you go any further. Let me cut ties with a couple of our platforms here. So those on Clubhouse, those listening in on and watching on Facebook Live, this is where we're gonna part company. All right, so come on over to kevinstew.com. You have multiple ways of listening to and watching the broadcast. So come on over kevinstew.com. Click on any of the mediums to either you're going to listen live on TuneIn Radio or you're going to watch on any of the two players, the YouTube live player or the site player. You can watch and listen live there. I see some comments here on YouTube Live because the stew pot somehow isn't boiling on kevinstew.com. So we're going to get all our messages. You can send your messages also on the phone line, 773-789-STEW, 773-789-7839. You can text there also. And you can also call. I will take calls and the phone lines are open, 773-789-7839. So those of you on Facebook Live, deuces to you. This is where we're going to part company. Come on over to kevinstew.com. I'm going to get to those comments here on YouTube in just a moment. I'm just going to part company with those on Clubhouse also so that we can have everybody at one place. All right, so see you, sayonara to those on Clubhouse. And so comments before I let you continue with this situation with the Aaron Dean case. I have a few comments here. Let me make this a little bit bigger so that I can see what they're saying. Question for Fisher. Do you know what is going on with Lisa Tanner in relation to Rodney Reed's case and any other case involving her? Well, let us know once you're on the question about some of these individuals, these players in the Texas judiciary. They just start coming up.
Well, all of this stuff on Reed's case and Lisa Tanner and these judges with no oaths. They play prominently in the Reed case right now.
Right.
You see the judge who's been the two judges that have been presiding over Reed's case since 2014.
Yes.
Are retired judges who never took the oath of office. So everything that has taken place in the Reed case since roughly April of 2014 to today are void and illegal, and that's what is coming with this
which
debacle.
Is a big issue and a big problem.
It is a huge issue because the judge who presided over Rodney's hearing last year is
Yes.
no longer on this case, on Rodney's case, and he'll never be back because he executed an inmate out of Montgomery County in 2019, having never taken the oath for that case. And that constitutes a murder, a first-degree murder, because he was alerted that he hadn't taken the oath, and he
Right.
didn't care.
Right.
And so that's coming. And see, that's all part of what's brewing here that I'm talking about with these other cases like Aaron Dean. Because, see, now that the elected judge has been removed, guess what happens next? a visiting judge is appointed. And that visiting judge has to take the oath of office. And you see, this time, this is a case where the media is out in front. And see, therein lies the problem. Let me explain how this works a little bit to your listeners. Texas has 254 counties.
Okay.
Those 254 counties are divided into 11 judicial regions. There's a presiding judge for each one of those regions. That judge is appointed by the governor, and that judge is to control the courts in the counties in his region. If a judge is sick, he appoints a retired or visiting judge to fill in. Or if judges have to switch benches, he handles all of that. He's an administrative judge that makes sure the courts, run.
Right.
Well, in Fort Worth, which is the 8th administrative region, it is right now a total disaster. The presiding judge for 7 years has been falsifying assignments. Each one of these is a third-degree felony. It's falsifying a government record with the intent to deprive a citizen of their due process rights to a fair and honest trial and their federal civil rights. This is not a little thing. And he's been doing it deliberately, knowing what he's doing to curry a political favor.
That's
the judge
Judge
that
Evans?
He's been
Is that Judge Evans?
That's Judge David Evans.
Okay.
Now, what confused me is why David Evans and the elected judge who was presiding over the Aaron Dean case
Yes.
would assign this judge, retired judge, misdemeanor county court at law judge to their courts in this criminal scheme, because it could put them in prison. It could turn their lives inside out, and it will. So why would they be doing it? So to me, first off, I go, wow, this judge, Darrell Coffey, must be connected. Really connected for other judges to put themselves in harm's way doing this. So I looked, I couldn't find anything. Nothing. And then I looked at his wife.
I hope she was good looking.
Yeah, well, very rarely. That'll get you to first base, second, third, and to home plate, but generally not much further.
Well, you're getting home. What more do you want? Good evening, Miss Do. Good evening, Miss Ellis. And HD, much love to you guys. Here.
But this judge's wife was the chair of the Republican Party for Tarrant County, Fort Worth. Oh. So she connected to all of the Republican judges up the line. Now she's high up in the national Republican Party's women's associations. So it looks like they were just throwing a bone to her ex-husband, who's just a misdemeanor judge,
Ex-husband?
to give him status. No, current husband.
Okay.
And see, not only is he defrauding and illegally on the bench, according to the state's comptroller's office, the state paid him $100,000 last year illegally presiding over these courts. So all that money is in essence embezzled from the state, and that's just 1 year for 7 that he's been doing this. So this is not a little thing. And now it gets. Go ahead.
It's interesting. For those that are listening in and hearing us talking about some of these things, just about everything that we've talked about already and what we're going to touch on as we continue to talk has been reported on already. And if not, in the works to be reported on in the newspapers. I have, let me see, you sent me 1, 2, 3, 4,
Or
5,
six
6,
articles.
7 articles.
6 articles on the judges.
Okay. Yeah. 6 of them on judges.
And see, now this Aaron Dean case, it's the linchpin. It's the straw that breaks the camel's back. Because the first thing is Judge Evans, who was outed on June 20th over all this corruption, along with the judge who's sitting on the Aaron Dean case, who was facing a motion for his recusal when the article came out on Monday, June 20th. Well, Evans appointed a retired appellate court judge to preside over the recusal motion. Now, I did, and I know some of the newspapers did, immediately wrote letters to Judge Evans wanting to know if he's going to require this retired appellate court judge to take the oath before taking the bench on the judge's motion for recusal in the Aaron Dean case. So the line, yes. The line was drawn in the sand first. Now, that article came out Monday after 5 in the Fort Worth newspaper. Well, Monday was also a key day for Judge Evans. It was the last day of his 4-year appointment as the administrative judge of the Tarrant County region. Well, guess what happened Tuesday morning?
What?
Our illustrious governor appointed David Evans to another 4 years.
Oh.
Not knowing about this article.
You sure he didn't know?
Pretty damn sure, because I called the Senate Nominations Committee that approved the nominations before the governor makes them.
Yes.
And they didn't see that coming either. And so they're scrambling right now. So here's what happens. Monday is the last day for Evans. Big article comes out over the 200 times Evans criminally appointed an illegal judge to preside over felony courts for 7 years.
That's the article titled "Obstructing Justice" with the subcaption "Rampant." I had it up on the screen just now. I'll put it back up right now. It says rampant judicial corruption should be just as troublesome as the delays in former cop Aaron Dean's trial for killing Atatiana Jefferson. This was in the Fort Worth
the
Weekly.
Woman who was shot through her bedroom window playing video games with her nephew.
Right.
By a cop that came in through her backyard and poked his face in her window late at night. She sees the face out her window. She goes to her dresser, pulls out the gun, and goes over to the window to see who's prowling in her backyard, and the cop shoots her through the window.
Crazy.
Killing her twice. Without identifying himself or anything. So, back to Monday. So, the presiding judge who has appointed a retired judge to hear the motion for recusal of the elected judge, and the hearing is for Thursday and Friday of last week. And so the presiding judge who appoints the retired appellate court judge, his last day is Monday the 20th, and our governor appoints him to another 4-year term Tuesday, of last week, only finding out that this judge, is facing 200 felonies, along with criminal conspiracy to embezzle monies from the state, defraud defendants of their due process and federal civil rights, a whole bevy of allegations. And the judge who's sitting over Atiana Jefferson's case is part of that criminal fraud. And so this last Tuesday, the retired appellate court judge grants the motion for recusal. And guess what? Here we sit with no judge sitting on that case because no judge has been appointed, which is bizarre. Because when a judge is recused, almost instantly a replacement judge is appointed. But here's the problem.
Yeah.
Who can do it? There's no way that they're going to let Evans do it. Because and if Evans can't do it, then it falls immediately to the Chief Justice of the Civil Supreme Court, Nathan Heck. Oh, but wait a minute. He's got a history of appointing retired judges politically to protect Republican elected officials from felony charges.
Oh, boy.
And he knows that I know this because I pulled his records. So he knows I'm aware of it. And my name is all over these articles, so you kind of think that that's a problem? So who's going to appoint? Well, clearly, Abbott's going to have to appoint a new presiding judge before a judge can be appointed to the Aaron Dean murder case. And of course, whoever is appointed is going to have to take the oath of office, and if they do, it's going to train wreck 22 years of this criminal scam of no judge taking the oath of office for any of these assignments. You see how the dominoes are set up?
And no, with this series of news articles coming out in the Fort Worth Weekly, here we have documented proof. You know, there are some people who would listen to when we talk and comment on the posts, comment on the YouTube, on the archive, and for some reason not step up and speak up as we're talking. They don't seem to want to show up at that point, except one time, and never did they show up again. But, or not they, but never did anyone show up again wanting to speak up.
Right, and you see, I don't hide.
Right.
You know,
not behind a computer, that's for sure. Not behind a keyboard.
I put my name out there. You know, I put the records out there.
Yes.
The state knows me. They have known me for 22 years.
Mm-hmm. You know they can't wait until you fall out, right? I'm just saying. I'm not wishing that you do. I'm just saying they can't wait. They're probably wishing that you do. Isisless says the guy suspected in killing the local rapper Mo 3 off I-35 is the same guy involved in that murder case of the transgender guy. So...
Okay, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at those cases. My plate's more than full right now.
Right.
See, what I do is the state is not going to fix anything because they control everything. So what I have to do is I have to put the pieces together and move the chessboard around to put all of the pieces in play, and that includes the judges, the defense attorneys, the state, the prosecutors, and see, that's what's happening. Now, in the article that came out, you know, on June 20th,
mm-hmm.
It mentions a judge in another high-profile murder case on the other side of the state, down on the coast in Corpus Christi, where an attorney general, prosecutor pro tem has been appointed by this visiting judge.
Yes.
There are 3 defendants, but that judge hasn't taken the oath. Now, the attorneys representing those 3 defendants have started filing motions And one of the motions they have filed is that's going to be heard on July 15th is to remove the Attorney General's office as prosecutor pro tem, based on the Zena Stevens ruling. You see, it's coming out. There also have additional motions to have the charges dismissed because the medical examiner, what the Corpus Christi newspaper calls the chief medical examiner, was arrested by the Texas Rangers last month and is facing over 17 felonies and is out on an $800,000 bond. His deputy chief has been arrested twice and bonded out twice and has multiple felonies as well.
These are the people that are representing us, the commoners, at various high levels.
Right.
In the state.
See, now we go back to Fort Worth, and on Saturday, July 2nd, the Fort Worth Weekly came out with another article about the Fort Worth medical examiner.
Yes.
Who's already under federal investigation. And this is the guy who did the Branch Davidian autopsies in Waco, where the ATF tanks rammed a religious compound in 93, 94.
Yeah.
And killed some 90 men, women, and children.
Mm-hmm.
This is the guy who did those autopsies, and it turns out he's a Pakistani national who's been in the country for 42 years under a falsified green card.
So this is Pirwani.
This is Pirwani. Well, guess whose office did the autopsy in the Aaron Dean case?
Really?
Yes. See another problem? And see, that hasn't yet hit the, come out in the local press yet. They're trying to keep that thing buried bad. And see, one of Pirwani's old contract vendor deputy medical examiners is now the deputy chief medical examiner of Fort Worth under their new chief medical examiner. Well, this article points out that the new chief medical examiner, who was appointed on November 2nd by the Commissioner's Court and swore the oath on December 8th of last year, 2021, and has been acting as the chief since then, isn't, because of the Texas Constitution. You see, Pirwani's contract as chief medical examiner with his oath went through December 31st, 2021.
Okay.
In Texas, nobody, not even the governor, can appoint anybody to a position until there's a vacancy in that office. And see, Pirwani wasn't removed, didn't resign. They paid him all the way through December 31st. So the appointment of this guy, Kendall Crowns, and him taking the oath is void. Let me tell you how different the Texas Constitution is from the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah.
We have a new Supreme Court justice coming in. Kanzi Brown?
Yes.
She would be void under the Texas Constitution. See, the president, if the United States was under the Texas Constitution, the president could not have appointed her. And she could not have been confirmed. Because because Breyer's still on the bench. See, Justice Breyer, he's only said that I'm going to retire. He hasn't. So there's no opening. And our Constitution makes it clear that even the governor can't appoint a judge to a new judgeship until the first day the judge can take the bench.
You see,
He can say that he intends to, but nobody can take any actions, and the judge and the person he intends to appoint can't take the oath or do any official act until the first day that there's an opening on that court bench. And see, in Conji Brown's case, I'm not sure that Breyer yet has left the bench.
wow. So,
And see, that's the difference.
but okay. You say, as according to Texas Constitution, these things can't happen, but how is it that they are happening?
It's because, that none of the Texas law schools. So if you're listeners out there and you have a kid who wants to go to law school and wants to go to Texas, you might want to think twice. None of the state law schools, Texas Tech, UT, A&M, none of them employ constitutional professors. They just assign one of their professors to teach constitutional courses, but they are not constitutional scholars. And so you have, and this has been for 100 years. So you have, professors and attorneys all over the state that don't understand the Constitution at all.
When you make statements like those, Fish, it boggles my mind.
Hey, boggles my mind too, because I talk to them and I go, yeah, no, that's not what that says. Go back to Article 5, Section 24, and let's look at that a little closer and see what that actually says.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I get calls from judges. They go, I'm not quite sure if I'm reading this right.
Wait.
Can you walk me through this?
The judge is calling you for clarification.
Yes. Because remember, what's a judge? He's an attorney that gets elected to a judgeship. You don't suddenly become, powerful, or, well, you do suddenly become powerful, but you don't necessarily become smart.
More informed or educated.
Yes. You just get a black robe and a hammer and a lot of power. And
wow.
so this is what I do is I look for these little pieces and then I move the pieces around in order to bring the issues into the press, as they really are. Like why I raised the abortion issue first off. Because in Texas, it's not necessarily true that abortions are illegal. Well, they may be illegal, but that doesn't mean that they can't be performed.
They're going to be prosecuted.
Because, well, that's why they're going to be performed, because certain district attorneys, once this word gets out, certain district attorneys are going to say, yeah, we're not prosecuting, abortions, that occur, before this date. They're not, there's even a pro-choice district attorney in this state will not allow a late-term abortion.
Right.
Unless the health of the mother or the child or severe deformity or something like that. But the old abortion laws before our current legislature tried to put a lid on everything.
Yes.
And we're now back to our, 1925 Supreme Court abortion rules. That makes it all criminal. And from day one, and that and what that law is, from fertilization on forward, it's a criminal offense.
You know, I find it interesting, and this is one of the great debates when it comes to abortion. The the whole okay, let me not say the whole country. A bunch of individuals will get up in arms about abortion, but these are not the same individuals who are getting up in arms about the death penalty.
Right? I don't. You see, I don't. It astounds me when I see women, going crazy that they have the right to kill a child, a fetus. I mean, that's beyond my comprehension. Now, I've had to be involved, in using my resources
Mm-hmm.
to prevent 2 abortions, from family members when I was growing up,
Okay.
and I have argued with members of my family that are absolutely pro-choice and women, and say, you don't have the right to tell me what I can do with my body. And I said, look, let me point something out to you. Unless you're the Virgin Mary, you didn't get pregnant by yourself.
True.
There's another party there, another party with interest. I mean, we call ourselves a society of laws. To get pregnant, there's a partnership. And I don't care that you're the carrier of that partnership agreement, you still don't have the sole authority. That should be dealt with as any other partnership. It should
Well,
be
okay,
at
so that is
minimum a joint issue. Yeah, a joint issue.
that is consenting adults performing the act of intercourse, bringing forth a pregnancy. But then you have your other cases, like Isislas is saying here. Do you have the right to force a little girl impregnated by rape to go into motherhood?
Now those are different. You see, no common law standing, is granted under our partnership agreements
Yes.
for an illegal act. So that's different.
Mm.
It's where 2 consenting adults, knowing that their acts could create a pregnancy. Now, both partners may be for the abortion, but women don't have the choice to say, I don't care what the other party says. It's my body. I get to do with it as I please. Well, see, there's the twist that I haven't mentioned in this opening that I started with, this abortion laws in Texas.
Yes.
Because there actually is a twist. Even in those Democratic counties that say they won't prosecute abortions,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that somebody who participates in an abortion will not be criminally charged. But the only person who can bring the criminal charge is the father of the child. See, this is the way it works in Texas. If an aggrieved party goes to the district attorney
Mm-hmm.
to seek criminal charges, and the district attorney declines to take the issue to the grand jury, then in Texas, the aggrieved party can hire their own attorney to present the case to the grand jury. And if the grand jury accepts the case, then that attorney becomes a prosecutor pro tem for that individual to prosecute the charge as the district attorney. See, so there actually is a way, but the only person who has standing would be the father of the aborted child.
Mm. The nuances. It's the little nuances when it comes to these situations, when these laws written by men in circumstances years gone by where when things were different being applied to today, which is looking at U.S. law. It's really interesting that it is written with such a broad tip pen, so it is left to interpretation by those who are arguing it, and
only within limits. You see, because one of the avenues to have a law declared void is that it is vague, which renders it unenforceable, which is what's going to happen to the other part of the Texas abortion law that was just passed this last year that allows anybody to sue a doctor for performing an abortion. You don't have to be a family member, just anybody, a member of a church can. But you see, that's problematic because that goes against, our entire history.
It also goes against privacy.
It's a common law issue that goes back to the very beginning of our English form of judicial system.
Right.
For somebody to sue, they have to have standing.
Mm-hmm.
And see, to open the door to anybody in the state can sue for monetary damages a doctor or abortion clinic for providing an abortion. I don't think that'll pass the Supreme Court of either this state or the federal Supreme Court, because if you can give standing to everybody to take an action against anybody in this state, you see the can of worms you open.
People are just getting up and deciding, oh, I need some extra money, I'm just going to sue this person.
That's right, and that's exactly the way they wrote that law for, is that anybody that needs a dime, and you bring the suit, and you get 10,000, 12, whatever the statutory limit is. And that's exactly what that law was intended to do, was basically, create bounty hunters. But again, the common law principle of having standing to bring the suit, that's not something that you can easily write into a law.
Right.
That will pass the Supreme Courts. And so whenever somebody tries to do that, they may win in the district court level, but they won't make it past the U.S. Supreme Court. Because if you can do that once, you can turn, you'll create chaos in, any group of senators and House members can get together and create a law that can destroy a civil society.
Well, apparently that's what that whole debate is looking to do. But going back to where we started, and it does link to it, as you had pointed out at the very beginning. These judges that A, have not taken the oath, B, have presided over these cases for however long now, that are, some of them, still doing it. Now that these articles are coming out, I guess people are starting to pay attention. What is the path to navigate at this point? Because we, the people, speaking on behalf of the average Joe in Texas and anywhere else that have started to look into situations, like looking into their judiciary to see if all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, we, the people, would want to know that if we at some point in time have to go stand in court to either defend ourselves or to stand up against someone, the person with the gavel, we're going to want to know that they're supposed to, one, they have the right to be there, and two, that whatever they say will stand. Now, we have hundreds of cases, well, even more than that, that are at risk of being overturned.
Oh yeah, in Texas, yeah, you have thousands upon thousands, probably over 100,000 cases over 22 years.
That's
See,
crazy.
this. Yes, it is. It's absolutely nuts. And you see, that's where the pieces are lining up. In the Aaron Dean cases, you're pointing out, the dominoes now that are lined up, and it's clearly causing an absolute conundrum for the state and the judiciary and the governor, is how do you get your butt out of this mess in the Aaron Dean case?
Right.
Because, one, here in about a week, we'll know whether the retired appellate court judge, Lee Gabriel, took the oath before she presided over the recusal hearing. If she didn't, Judge Hagerman is not recused, and let me tell you, he's a bit of a horse's butt. And if he sees an avenue where he's not recused, he's not going anywhere.
Mm.
And then the issue comes in, was Lee Gabriel's appointment valid in the first place because of what Judge Evans has a history of tampering and falsifying oaths.
Mm.
So is her assignment valid to begin with?
So, all right. We recognize that judges that have not taken the oath, their appointments are, in a sense,
Null
in
and void.
essence, null and void.
In essence, they are legally null and void in Texas. You see, in Texas, a judge cannot become any type of officer whatsoever. It's called a de facto or de jure officer. In other states, they can, but not in Texas. In Texas, before a judge has any authority, he must take the oath first. Period. It is one of the few places, or rare places, in Texas where it's a black and white line. You're either in or you're out. There's no gray area.
So, hold on. Is it this that these judges are using as I don't know, as leverage to say that, yeah, we are judges and we are doing what the law says we can do?
Yeah, but you see, the Constitution and the rulings of the Supreme Court says, nah. See, there's over 100 years worth of Supreme Court rulings that judges must take their oaths first.
In Texas.
Yes, before they are a judge and have any authority. If they don't, all of their actions are null and void. They're not voidable. They are flat void.
Why aren't the defense attorneys in various cases just eating all this up and filing motions left, right, and center? Here's a question that I just got asked. Rachel Cook. I asked about Rachel Cook's case. I heard from some Georgetown residents that Jody did get leads that he never followed up on in Rachel's disappearance. And about Darley Routier's case, is the guy who prosecuted Darley's case corrupt like Lisa Tanner?
Oh yeah, he was in this case. It was the Dallas District Attorney's office, and you see, there's a scandal coming here in a month or so that will destroy every autopsy, every death certificate, every prosecution where the Dallas Medical Examiner's Office was involved all the way back to the early 60s.
What?
Yeah. Dallas doesn't have a medical examiner's office. I have an attorney who has a murder case where the Dallas ME's office was involved and asked me last week what I had. I said everything. And see, I've been poking them for some time. What Dallas did back in the 60s when they formed their medical examiner's office,
Yes.
they simply farmed their autopsies out to the UT Southwest Medical School. Just like what Lubbock was doing that I shut down in 2008 as being criminal. But Dallas still does it. Only they do it worse than what Lubbock was doing. In Dallas, the professors of pathology at the UT Southwest Medical School are also the medical examiners.
For the
And
state of Dallas?
The,
for the county of Dallas? For Dallas County?
Yes, Dallas County, the professors of pathology at the medical school, the UT Southwest Medical School, are also the medical examiners. And they're paid a salary by the university and by the county as medical examiners. Texas Senator John Cornyn, when he was the Attorney General in 2001, issued a warning to these medical schools and universities, state universities, that a professor, an adjunct professor, is not a school teacher under our Texas Constitution, Article 16, Section 40. So may not hold two paid appointments at the same time, which is what they're doing. Now, if you violate Article 16, Section 40 and hold two appointments for profit at the same time, you also violate Article 16, Section 33 of our Constitution that says that no division of the state may pay you for either appointment because they're both void, as a professor at the medical school and as a medical examiner, until you take the oath of office for the second appointment. Once you do that, your first appointment is voided by operation of law. So, since the chief medical examiner of Dallas was first a professor of pathology at the medical school before he was appointed chief medical examiner in 89, once he was appointed chief medical examiner in 89, if he took the oath of office after his appointment, then his position at the medical school would have been voided. If he didn't take the oath, then he may not be paid the salary by the medical school or by the county until, he takes the oath for that second appointment. You know when he took the oath for that second appointment?
Well,
when I made him in 2011.
So, since 2011, he's been getting one check.
No. He's still drawing both checks. But what it did is it destroyed all of the graduate medical degrees of all medical students out of that UT Southwest Medical School, where the chief medical examiner or if any of his deputy professors had to sign off on them because they're all dead.
But, okay. What you just
but
said...
because they're still collecting both salaries?
Yes.
The death certificates signed as medical examiners and the graduate medical degrees for the medical students are all void.
All right.
See, this is the ramification for all of this.
But this is not the only place that we are seeing this. Because these retired judges, as you and I have been talking, these retired
medical
judges...
examiners are judges too in Texas.
Well, there's that too, yes.
Yeah, there is that side of that too.
Yes.
That's why they have to take the oath.
But okay, I guess maybe what I really should say is this double dipping seems to go with the judges that wear the white robe, being medical examiners, and the judges that wear the black robe, being the ones with the gavel. Because these retired judges, they get a retirement package, right?
Yeah.
And as a judge presiding, a visiting judge presiding over a case, they get paid for each day that they're on the bench of said case, correct?
Right. And while they're a retired judge. And you see, this is where it's kind of goofy. The statute tells you if as a retired judge, if you're appointed to a bench
Yes.
as the judge, then you have to notify the retirement board as soon as you take the oath of office for that appointment to the bench,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not entitled to your retirement annuity while you're being paid on the bench. And then the government code says, oh, but if you're just assigned as a visiting judge to to a court, you don't have to notify the retirement system, and you can draw both of them. Yeah, no. No. You see, here's the way it works. A judge can't take the bench unless they're appointed. And they can't be, and they can't take the bench until they take the oath. And once they take the oath, they're a full judge of that court. And as such, when it says that when you're appointed to the bench, you got to notify the retirement board as soon as you take your oath, well, it covers assigned judges too.
And this is why I asked, because here it is, you mentioned that with the medical examiners, they have to take the oath of the second office, which makes the first office void. So they wouldn't be getting paid as the professor from the university because they're getting paid from the state as a medical examiner. Here it is.
Because they're being paid by the county.
Yeah, the county.
So the state's paying them on one side, the county's paying them on the other.
And here it is with these retired judges getting a pension, taking the oath, which here it is again, after taking the oath of the second office, makes the first office void.
And you see, and that's just the beginning of it. There are all kinds of other nuances. You have retired judges, have to serve in the judicial district that they live.
Right.
So all of the retired judges that are in the 8th Administrative Region, they're eligible to be assigned to cases in the 8th Region. An administrative judge, say from the 10th Region, can request the administrative judge of the 8th Region to assign him a retired judge to the 10th Region for reassignment because he's short of judges.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that happens, the judge who's assigned to the 10th Region can no longer be assigned to cases in the 8th Region until his assignment to the 10th has been lifted, because otherwise he'd be holding two paid appointments in two different regions at the same time.
Right, because...
which violates that holding two paid positions at the same time.
Right.
But they're still doing it.
Okay, so who is the watcher of the hen house?
You're speaking to him.
Other than someone butting in, who is the watcher of the state of the hen house?
Nobody. See, that's what is sick. Is the system has been so corrupted, the defense bar dare not say anything because our legislature, in their infinite wisdom, gave the power to appoint defense attorneys to the judges. And the judges tell the defense attorneys, yeah, you're not going to raise that issue in defending your client. or you
You
won't
get
get any more
blackballed.
appointments. That's right. And so exactly how do we have a criminal justice system that's not just a criminal justice system?
Ideally named. Yeah, how?
You see, that's just the mess of it. And I mean,
How?
when you get into it, I mean, it's like Abbott and Costello's. Who's on first? Who's
What?
on second?
Yeah.
What's on third? I mean, it's that kind of game,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. So what I have to do is I have to figure out how to raise the different issues and put them together. So when they start falling, it creates such a wave that the state media can't ignore it. And see, this is what's developing in Fort Worth now. All the TV stations, 4 TV stations, the newspapers are all covering the Aaron Dean murder trial.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them saw this issue coming for Judge Hagerman. Now, when the defense attorneys filed motions to recuse Judge Hagerman, the local media went to the defense bar who would talk to them and said, it's almost impossible to get an elected judge recused simply because he's been a horse's ass to the defense. And then guess what happens? He gets recused. And the reason he gets recused is on Monday, the article comes out and says, yeah, Judge Hagerman has been involved with presiding Judge Evans assigning this incompetent no judge to Hagerman's courts, felony courts, so that this judge can embezzle monies from the state and deprive defendants of their federal civil rights. Yeah, well, you got a retired judge and then the governor gets drawn into it. Yeah, you can be sure that that retired judge is going to remove Judge Hagerman. Because that leaves too big a prize for me to play with. If they didn't remove Hagerman, my next call would be to the Justice Department.
So, what's up with Coffee, though?
Well, Coffee is I mean, he's somebody right now running around like Chicken Little yelling, the sky is falling. And it is on him. And he knows it.
Because
and this guy,
he presided over that alley shooting.
No, you're talking about the Mineola case.
The Mineola
shooting?
case, yeah.
No. Coffee presided over a sex offenders trial, having no reason to be on the bench. The judge had no authority to recuse himself from the bench, and Coffee had no authority on it. And then that defendant then appealed, and since no attorney would represent him, he had to appeal pro se. And the appellate court just slapped him down real fast, even though the allegations they were making were true. But you see, you have to do it precisely, because the appellate courts are trying to keep this stuff out from the Supreme Courts, because the Supreme Courts will slap them down. And so they rule against defendants. Now, Coffee presided in February over the Justice of the Peace felony charge in Tarrant County, Fort Worth. That was a political prosecution by the DA.
Okay.
And over a homestead exemption, where she got, in refiling her homestead, she got her property screwed up. But as soon as it was several years ago, when it was brought to her attention, she paid the back taxes and straightened it out. And then here 3 years later, suddenly they prosecute her. because she was retired. She's come out to run again as a JP position, and they didn't want her.
Mm.
So they filed felony charges. And it just so happened that I saw it and got a hold of her attorneys, got a hold of the newspaper, and then educated people. And that's what led to all of these articles in the Fort Worth Weekly, these 6 articles. They flowed, the very first one being about coffee, not taking the oaths and filing a false oath, and having the presiding judge assign him to some 200 felony cases as a senior judge.
As a senior judge, yeah.
And you only get that senior status from the Supreme Court of Texas, and you have to do it when you retire 7 years ago, and the Supreme Court says, nope. Not only did he never request senior status, we never granted it to him. But guess what David Evans has in his file? Letters from Coffee seeking senior status that to the Supreme Court, yet they were never mailed to the Supreme Court. So when the hell were they actually created?
Well, they weren't mailed to the Supreme Court, but they were sent to Evans.
Right. But were they?
Or he just made them
when
up.
these articles came out, did they just do a lot of
He created them and backdated them.
And see, I'm suspicious about that because the documents show multiple fax numbers and days for the same documents and fax back and forth. See, that's an old trick with the state. And this is one of Lisa Tanner's old tricks, where she creates a record, and then she takes the fax machine and changes the dates on the fax machine and runs it through it, and then says, oh, see, this was faxed back in 98. No, it wasn't. The record didn't exist back in 98. And if you know the codes and stuff, you know that this is a fictitious document that was created for a hearing. And so when I see a bunch of fax, different dates and fax numbers on the same document, yeah, that's a problem. That tells me that this is a record that's somebody's trying to manufacture a pedigree.
Right.
But you see, you can't do it. Because, you see, if you don't know the system, you don't know the chain of events that happens if you really did this. And so I go looking for, if, to get to home plate, when you hit the ball, you got to go past second.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get the records, that show that, that you reach, first base, and then I have documents that show, you were on third base and home, but there are no records for second base, well, you didn't get to third base and home.
Yeah. You're going to be ruled out.
So you have to know, you have to know how the system works. And if you don't, you just think, oh, I'll just manufacture this document. Well, it will work to a common, reporter at that's just out of college, working as a news reporter. Yeah, you can blow smoke up their butt all day long, but not me. And so my job is to educate the reporter. Yeah, that's not the way it works. If you do this, then the next step's this, and then the next step is there. And if you don't have those two other steps, your final document isn't what it purports to be. It can't be, because there's no way for it to get there without step 2 and 3.
So I'm thinking that people in Texas need to spend time learning their Constitution. That's what I'm thinking at this point.
Oh God, there's so many things people in Texas need to do that ain't going to get done. I mean, that's just not happening. So, but what you see, here's here's the mess, and I'm going to tell the state right now. If they're listening, let me give you your roadmap. Here's where things are going. Come tomorrow, there's a high probability that the judge who replaces Hagerman will be named.
Okay.
And what it's going to ultimately be is it's not going to be Evans that names him, because Evans is going to, it's going to be released this week that Evans chose not to accept the appointment to another term as a presiding judge. So Abbott has appointed another presiding judge in place of Evans. And
But
that
he has
presiding
to-
judge,
But before Abbott can do that, Evans needs to say that he's not taking the office.
well, or Evans having not taken the oath with the Secretary of State, is all Abbott's got to do is call the Secretary of State, and guess who appoints the Secretary of State? Oh, that's right, Abbott. And the Secretary of State states, oh, no, Evans hasn't filed his oath for the appointment from last week. Oh, well, I guess he's renounced, by his inaction, he's declining the appointment. So let's just appoint somebody else. And you just move around him and past him.
But then that goes to show that if you don't take the oath, then...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. You see, that's the trap.
Hello!
Yes, everything comes back to the same point.
People,
Yeah.
people.
Yes.
Pay
And so-
attention.
And see now, because, here by next week, not this week, but by the 6th or 7th of July, I'll have the oaths for Lee Gabriel, the retired appellate court judge, who held the hearing to recuse the judge in the Aaron Dean case. And if she didn't take the oaths, then holy crap. Because several news organizations requested in writing from Evans if Lee Gabriel was going to be required to take the oaths for that assignment to recuse Hagerman in the Dean case.
Yeah, because I was reading one of these articles where they said that they requested under Rule 12 records, and they have been getting them at a trickle.
Yeah.
If at all.
Yeah, see, and it's not just Evans. There's a couple more that are panicked, and they see the presiding judge of the 5th Administrative Region. That's the Corpus Christi area.
Yes.
Where she appointed the judge that's in this article too, Brunales, who's presiding over the Brianna Woods case, where the retired judge appointed the Attorney General Prosecutor Pro Tem.
Pro Tem, yeah.
And now there are motions to remove him. Well, see, I hadn't discussed with the attorneys yet down there that Brunales is illegally on the bench. Well, now they have the articles.
Oh, wow.
That he hasn't taken the oath. And so now that line is drawn in the sand. And see, Brunales is the one that's got the hearing scheduled for July 15th on the motion to dismiss the charges because the medical examiner, has been charged with, 17, 19 felonies by the Texas Rangers. And he's the one who did the autopsy, and the allegations are that he's changed his findings, and not done autopsies and rewritten them anyway. There are all kinds of crazy allegations that the Rangers have made.
Wait, didn't the same thing happen with Bayardo?
Oh yeah,
didn't.
But you see, this one you have news organizations that are reporting it down there. Where in Austin, none of the local media will report anything about the Travis County Medical Examiner's Office. And yet, that's blowing up in their face right now. You see the current chief medical examiner of Travis County is a Canadian who's in the country on a green card, who's not a citizen. So he can't be the chief medical examiner of Travis County.
That can't
And
happen.
Yes, and one of his deputies, also from Canada, one of his co-partners in crime from Calgary, and then to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they got in trouble again, before coming to Texas, where they got in trouble again. Well, that deputy got fired for changing his opinion on the stand in a murder case, and the judge threw out the murder charge against the defendant right there on the spot because the medical examiner played that game.
Oh, so they're a traveling
This
circus.
is a Canadian guy.
They're a
who
traveling
did the same
circus.
thing in Albuquerque on the stand.
Well, this is why I'm saying they're a traveling circus, because
Right.
they're cloning.
Well, I have another case here locally that I've just put together last week, where a defendant was sentenced to life in prison for the death of his stepson that he swears to God he didn't do. To the point that when they tried to indict him the first time, he tried to throw himself out of the courtroom window, like on the third or the fourth floor, telling them he's not a child killer. And the guy who did the autopsy is this Canadian guy who changed his testimony on the stand, and then got fired, went to Lubbock, started a business with the third Canadian medical examiner from Calgary, who set up a body parts stealing operation in California. Where
Is this the one that sent the wrong bodies to the families?
No, this is far worse. This is where they were, as the new Lubbock medical examiner, again, not being a citizen, set up a business whereby they would steal the body parts of children under the age of 7 and send them to California, where his partner there would then sell them back to the medical schools. And I called one of the commissioners and alerted them what would happen if they didn't call in the FBI, which they did. And there's still an FBI Texas Ranger Attorney General Office investigation of the Lubbock Medical Examiner's Office. So the Canadian got fired from there. Guess where he showed up next? Tarrant County. Now,
So,
he
what?
did the
These counties
autopsy.
don't.
Wait. You got to tie it all together. He did the autopsy when he was in Travis County with this local small county autopsy on the guy that just sentenced to life for the death of his stepson. Well, this is the guy who did the autopsy. And so the new medical examiner sent his deputy medical examiner down here to testify off the bogus autopsy from Austin. And the attorneys didn't raise the confrontation clause issue. And the new deputy chief medical examiner in Lubbock is the ex-contract vendor from Pirwani, who's never been a medical examiner. And she's doing this all over the state. And let me tell you, I started reaching out to digging up cases where she's coming and testifying and open my files on her. And let me tell you, they're ugly.
And that's Sarah Perwani.
Huh?
That's the daughter?
No. This is a woman by the name of Tasha Greenberg,
Oh my
who's
goodness.
now the deputy chief medical examiner in Tarrant County under the guy who's not the chief medical examiner because he was appointed before Perwani left.
You know,
That's in the that's mentioned in the article from Saturday.
I'm hoping people are following.
This is more confusing than Abbott and Costello's, who's on second.
Yeah. People, I hope y'all are following, because I am somewhere out in the fifth nebula round the corner past Uranus at this point.
Yeah, you see, here's the deal, people. This is incestuous in Texas. It's musical chairs between these medical examiners and deputies. They get caught one place, they go to another county, they hide them over here. I mean, it's a shell gang. I mean, I ran 4 medical examiners out of Houston in late 2002. 3 left the state one I couldn't find. He shows up in El Paso in 2007 as the chief medical examiner. Now, this guy ran him out of Houston because he was incompetent. He couldn't pass the pathology boards, to say nothing about the forensic pathology boards. And so, through the Houston Chronicle, I raised the issue. The Houston Medical Examiner's Office made them all sit for the boards. They flunked, and so they fired them all. Well, this guy ends up in 2007, he disappears, and then he shows up in 2007 as the chief medical examiner of El Paso. So I pulled his curriculum vitae to figure out where the hell has he been hiding from 2003 to 2007. Well, it's in Lubbock. So I pulled the Lubbock records, and I see that the medical school is pretending to be the medical examiner's office. So in March of 2008, I filed a criminal complaint with the medical board against the Lubbock Medical Examiner's Office. Shuts it down in late 2008, early 2009. And then I go after the guy in El Paso for falsifying his credentials. Have him removed in 2010. So what do? They hire a Mexican national in the country on a falsified H-1B visa, J-1 waiver, to be their chief medical examiner, who now did the autopsies on the 23 bodies from the Walmart shooting of a couple of years ago. And now they can't prosecute the case because all the autopsies, the death certificates, all the evidence collected is illegal because that guy's not a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
And he
in
did
an
the
elected
autopsy.
position.
Right. And so in an appointed position, in a judicial appointed position where he can't hold it because he's not a citizen.
U.S. citizen. Yeah.
And so you just see the dominoes, they just keep going and going and rolling, and it just never ends. And so, I've had to go to the FBI, and they're pissed out there in El Paso. And they're just waiting for the state to finish their game before they come in and start bringing federal charges against people. Same thing in the Galveston, Texas, the Santa Fe High School shooting of 3 years ago, where the kid shot up the high school.
Yeah.
Well, that case is sitting because all the autopsies were done by the UTMB Medical School, pretending to be the Galveston County Medical Examiner's Office, just like what Lubbock was doing when I shut them down, and what Dallas is still doing.
So people are going to be waiting and waiting and waiting for some of these cases to get final.
The families don't understand what the holdup, and the holdup is a corrupt state that is getting caught. And now the feds are looking. Now the feds are looking at Galveston. The feds are looking at El Paso. The feds have an active criminal investigation in Fort Worth. And all of the counties that were dealing with Fort Worth for 42 years, because all of these autopsies and these convictions where the Fort Worth Medical Examiner's Office was involved, all of these defendants had their federal civil rights violated for a due process, equal protection under the law trial. These are not easy things to just sweep away. And some people have already been executed.
Right.
Where their convictions were procured by frauds. So this is the mess that's going on. And it's 50, 60 years in the making. So yeah, it's a little slow and it's a little hard to right this ship. And it takes time to put together a database to be able to force, a state the size of Texas to do anything.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're getting there. And like I said, the Aaron Dean case is one of those cases. Because it pulls all of this together. The elected judge was involved with the criminal fraud with the presiding judge and the incompetent Judge Coffey in putting him on felony cases to defraud over 200 defendants of their federal civil rights. Another one of those judges that were involved in this, is involved in what I call Texas's Ahmaud Arbery case.
Before you do that, before you touch on that, I want to say thank you to my affiliates. We're going to lose them in just about 60 seconds. So thank you to One Harmony Radio, to NIE Radio, to Island Worldwide, to Reggae Pulse Radio, to the Foundation Radio Network, ClintonLindsay.com. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Truly appreciate love each and every one of you. We'll be back tomorrow. Healthy Love Night. Do enjoy the rest of your night, morning, afternoon, day, wherever you are in the world. We are going to be wrapping up here in a few. I give you my word. I'm trying not to go too much past midnight tonight. So, deuces to you guys, the affiliates. Thank you again. Fish, you were saying?
Yeah, we have another case where a teenage boy, African American, was executed by a 40-year-old white ex-Marine.
Yes.
In a little town called Mineola, Texas, in Wood County.
Mm-hmm.
The shooting took place in 2014. It didn't go to trial until 2019. The Attorney General's office prosecuted it as the criminal district attorney pro tem, which was unconstitutional, and a retired judge with no oath presided over the trial.
Right.
The Attorney General's office and the judge allowed the shooter to plead not guilty because of self-defense. But, see, this is a twisted story. This is where the 40-year-old ex-Marine, after having a night out with his daughter, leaves her in the car at the convenience store to go in and buy her an ice cream cone before going home.
Right.
He then proceeds to get into an argument with a teenage African-American boy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a little town. Probably the only thing open is the convenience store, like the little town that I went to high school in the Panhandle. I mean, there's just not hardly anything open.
Right.
So he gets in an argument and challenges the teenager. Now, this is a 40-year-old ex-Marine.
Mm-hmm.
Challenges the teenager to meet him around back behind the convenience store to settle their argument.
Right.
So the kid didn't back down and says, sure. So he walks around back. The Marine goes out to the car, gives his daughter the ice cream cone.
Pulls out the gun from the car.
Opens the glove box and pulls out a pistol and starts heading for the back of the convenience store. Well, as he's walking back there, he walks up on behind a black, teenager, puts a gun to the back of his neck and shoots him and executes him. Oh, guess what?
Wrong
That's
kid.
not the guy he was arguing with. This was just a passerby.
Yep.
So he executes this kid. He doesn't even know him, never talked to him before, and the retired judge and the Attorney General allows him to plead self-defense because this is a high-crime neighborhood, and this was a black kid. Both of them were black, so that's justifiable. Self-defense. Yeah. This is how crazy this case is. And they were able to quietly bury it until I saw it. And I put it out right after the trial. I came across it in 2019. I talked to the defense attorneys for this Marine and pointed out to them in no uncertain terms that this guy's going to get re-prosecuted for murder. Oh no, Dave! You see, that would be double jeopardy. He can't be tried again. I said, yeah, normally that would be the case, but since the judge was illegally on the bench, this was a little more than a dog and pony show.
And
it doesn't count as double jeopardy.
And the prosecuting attorney.
And
the Attorney General acting pro tem as district attorneys, which is illegal.
That opens the other door. That's right. And see, here's the problem. What surprised me is when I pointed out to them, it's not double jeopardy because of the judge. They go, oh, you're right. They knew it.
Mm-hmm.
This was all staged. the defense attorneys, the judge, the prosecutor pro tem, all of them work together to get the jury to find this guy not guilty. And you know what? It's going to come undone, and it's coming undone real fast now.
Yeah, I spoke with the boy's father, the victim's father, and it really hit me deep to the core. And he was gonna come on this broadcast to talk about it, and he said, "You know what? I don't want to rehash this for my family." Well, it is going to be brought up, and like you said, become undone, whether he likes it or not, whether he wants to do it or not.
Well, you see, there's, and I deal with this all the time because I deal a lot with victims,
Right.
and I have to tread carefully through these areas. But what the family wants most is they want closure, and they want the person, guilty, held accountable. But they don't want to put their, get their hopes up,
Right.
knowing this corrupt system.
Right. Right.
And so in essence, what he's telling you is, I'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah. If it happens, it
I don't
happens.
want to
If it
step
doesn't,
forward now
I'm
and
not
put my
gonna.
family
Yeah.
through this grief and no justice happen a second time. Yeah, I can definitely understand that.
Right.
But with the ruling of the Supreme Court last December, with the judge who was assigned to preside over this case, guess who assigned him?
Evans?
David Evans. Yep.
Mm.
So, yes, and this guy hasn't taken the oaths for any of his assignments since he retired. And he's mentioned in the articles as well. And I think the Griffin, case is mentioned just in brief.
Yeah.
And so, see, I've already talked to the county newspaper and the publisher, and they're gun-ho, man. They're ready to start writing the stories again because they thought this was a travesty of justice.
Well, no, they know
And
for sure.
so did most of the defense bar in that region. They attended the trial. It scared them to see what the state could do. How easy it was for the state to dismiss a murder charge, to
Well,
call it self-defense.
They're the top of the food chain. So, in essence, it kind of would be easy for them to do it. The
Yes.
thing is, even at the top of the food chain, the lowly worm in the earth eats your carcass.
Yeah, and even though you're at the top of the food chain, you always have to listen for that music. Dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, that one.
It's the shark. You gotta always wonder, and worry about a shark spotting you. Because if a shark spots you, yeah, you're out there up to your, up to your neck in trouble. Yeah, you can find yourself in a whole heap of hurt pretty fast. And see, this is what's happening right now. Is Tarrant County is coming undone because the TV stations and the newspapers are now focusing on this.
Right.
And again, the Aaron, the Adeline, I can't say that without her name in front of me.
Tatiana.
Yeah, Atiana Jefferson. The one weak spot in the case is the attorney, in my opinion, is the attorney representing the family. Lee Merritt. I've dealt with him. He's nothing but an ambulance chaser. He doesn't have any staff, doesn't do any investigation. He waits for the trial and then asks for money of which he'll take 40% of without ever doing any research, anything.
Well, you know,
In my opinion, he's just a parasite.
he uses the media to great effect.
Yeah,
We'll
but he doesn't.
give
But
him
he
that.
doesn't have a law firm. He doesn't have investigators. He doesn't do anything. He represented the Vodum Sheen family,
Yeah. Well,
and they got nothing because he didn't do anything.
right.
And so after the officer was convicted of murder and sentenced,
Mm-hmm.
he comes pleading to Dallas for money, and they just told him to take a hike, and he did. But I had talked to his office repeatedly, provided him documents, and let me tell you, the Bodum Sheen family, before all said and done, is going to collect from Dallas. Because that's one of the cases that I intend to use against Dallas in this mess, this criminal mess and fraud. But when you have, law firms like Lee Merritt out there who won't, don't have and see, this is anybody who's hiring an attorney to represent them in a wrongful death lawsuit. When you go to sign the contract, ask to meet their investigative staff, their investigators, their experts. If they don't have them, run.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just Lee Merritt. It's the grump guy from Florida who represented the Trayvon Martin family.
Mm-hmm.
If people knew what really happened there, but again,
Oh, we've talked
no
about it.
investigators, huh?
We've talked about it, looking
Yeah,
through
no
the information in the
investigators.
autopsy.
No nothing. And so these guys with no work, no overhead, stand in front of the camera and get media, attention, which gets them more cases. It's free media.
Well, we don't
And
get
then-
paid unless you get paid.
Yes. And we don't do anything until an insurance company offers you money, to settle a case where we have done nothing, and yet we're going to take 40% of your money for standing in front of the camera looking sharp.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
there's one thing you can't argue with.
They look
These
sharp.
guys dress sharp.
They do look sharp.
So you're paying quite a bit for that. Now, Lee Merritt is in a little bit of a mess here because he's violated the gag order. And see, the judge who was just removed was going to address that issue, and the defense is going to raise it again with the new appointed judge because they want Lee Merritt to shut his mouth.
Mm.
And so,
Well-
Lee Merritt could find himself, held in contempt by a judge.
Well-
And like I say, if he just did a little work, then that family would probably get 10 times what he will take normally.
Well,
Because they'll low dollar him because they know him as simply a peacock who has no staff, no investigators. There's no reason for them to pay the family high dollars because he doesn't have a case.
Well, if he does get held in contempt, hopefully it is a judge that has taken the oath and is legally on the bench.
Yeah, well, it's as if Lee Merritt's going to raise the issue that you can't hold me in contempt. You haven't taken the oath. Because that takes some research and some reading.
Well, if he read the news report, then, the newspapers, then he might have an idea,
I don't think the Fort Worth Weekly has a newsstand, in the clothier where he shops. Just my guess. And I think we'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Before I get myself, in a bigger mess.
Good
than I've
good day to you,
already
Lee Merritt and staff, if you have a lot.
Yes, and
Eddie.
Lee, you do have my contact information. Just go back and look at your records in the Bodum Sheen case.
There
And you
go.
have lots of documents from me, and you should have used them. And then the family would have collected.
And so would you, because you get paid when they
Yeah.
get paid.
Right. You would have actually made some money, but you would have had to work for it a little bit. But the payout would have been quite substantial.
Crazy.
Because I'm going to tell you, when the truth comes out about Lee Merritt shooting, yowzer. I mean, not Lee Merritt
The
shooting.
Botham
The
Jean
Bodum
shooting.
Sheen shooting, yeah, that was a straight-out murder. That one's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all in the testimony. Just reading the testimony of the medical examiner about knocked me out of my chair.
Well,
Because he
that coupled
tells you-
with looking at the autopsy itself.
Yeah, I didn't even have to look at the report. Just listen to him describe the path of the bullet. I'm going, what? Well, that means that the officer lied about everything. She shot him while he was still reclined on the couch, or he was leaning forward to stand up, and she shot him. He never fully got off the couch.
Given the angle of the
Given the angle, yeah, there's only only two scenarios, only two possible, and that's what I do. I go back and relook at the angles. I know my math.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, we had a lot, wind this up. I know you got a busy day tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
And you want to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed because there's going to be a bunch of crazy people out on the street tomorrow.
Let me tell you. Oh, Fish, I want to thank you once again. This is information that the average person would not be coming across on a regular basis. And you put in the work. You have been putting in the work. Thank you for your dedication.
Well, I just want to let you know that there's already an article being worked on the abortion law that I raised. That's already in the works.
Keep your eyes and ears glued to what's happening in Texas, folks. I can tell you it doesn't happen anywhere else in the U.S. like that. Texas is special.
All right, Kevin, I appreciate you taking the time to allow me to, to speak to your audience, and I'm always appreciative of the work you do.
Thank you. Listen.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Good night. We'll catch up.
I'm going to try to hold you as close to this as I can.
Hey,
to that 11.
You did awesome, man. You did awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, good night.
Be careful tomorrow.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we part company. New music from G. Cole. It's called Peace of Mind is a Holiday. I want to thank you, each and everyone, for tuning in. Remember, you can catch the podcast. You can catch a YouTube. You get your updates on the post on kevinstew.com. It'll be available in the morning. Well, it's morning some places. It'll be available a little bit later on. So until we do this again, good morning, good afternoon, good day to you wherever you are in the world. Do remember to look out for members of your community. Remember, your community is not just the development that you live in, but it spreads far and wide. So those that you pass on the bus, the plane, the boat, or the train, whether you walk, ride, or drive, these are members of your community. Do something good for one of them today, because you never know who's going to do something good for you tomorrow. My name is DJ Kevin Stew. So I like to do it to you, for you, and with you every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern. Be good. If you can't be good at it. Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment.